discussion. News Radio 1040 WHO.
Views expressed are those of the host, guests, and callers, not necessarily those of News Radio 1040 WHO.
Right back to Conversation. Mickelson here with you. Welcome aboard on a Thursday get-together. Most of the morning we'll have some open line time, but as you well know on the national level, the thing that dominated the news yesterday was the House debate on that resolution talking about the fate of the Iraq War. Congressman Boswell was quoted yesterday saying he just sorry that this was a non-binding resolution. He wants the troops out of there now. You have the Council on Foreign Relations yesterday issuing an opinion saying it's time for us to get out. Those are the heavy hitters in Washington. That's those are the folks in the deepest end of the think tank. That's the Washington Eastern Seaboard establishment. They've thrown in the towel. Congressman Latham, however, went to the House floor and yesterday said,
furthermore, the majority's political rhetoric, if the majority party's political rhetoric corresponds with their legislative agenda on Iraq, you can rest assured that the humanitarian disaster will be yours. The jihadist victory will be yours. The rogue state coalition of Iran and Syria will be yours. A genocidal Sunni Shiite Arab civil war will be yours. You will have handed al-Qaeda victory and empowered its homicidal leaders.
Congressman Latham is joining us on our Newsmaker line. He's getting ready to board a plane, so I appreciate your time this morning, sir. Strong words. You went on further to say that the House Democrats are doing for this war what they did for the last one in Vietnam, using almost the same rhetoric. What do you think?
Well, that's exactly right, Jan. And I grew up in the Vietnam War era. I had two brothers that served over there. And I think most people who remember that era understand that Congress trying to micromanage a war, the politicians trying to run a war and not leaving it to the generals and to the commander-in-chief is simply the wrong approach. And this debate that's been on the floor now for the last 3 days, I think is instructive as to where people are coming from. The disaster that could happen in the Middle East if, in fact, we are not successful over there. And this, the surge that people are talking about is just one very small part of the overall effort that's going on right now throughout that region. But we met the other day with the ambassadors from Jordan, from Egypt, and they really laid it out as to what could happen to the whole region if, in fact, we would just, turn tail and run.
Well, what's the worst-case scenario?
Well, you're going to have a nations around the area joining in a sectarian war. You're going to see refugees all over. You're going to see a bloodbath throughout the region with that type of sectarian war. And they are extraordinarily concerned about what happens in Iraq because their nations will be part of the whole situation when that happens.
And with the United States would be the recipient of thousands of refugees, and I've noticed a political class on the Kennedy side of the aisle wants to raise the refugee status so we can admit thousands more.
Right.
Well, what do the American people get to vote in any of this stuff?
Well, and I understand, Jan, as well as anyone, and I'm as frustrated as anyone with, the lack of progress we're seeing and the realization that absolutely mistakes have been made over there. But when you've got Osama bin Laden saying that is Baghdad is the center of their efforts, and if they're victorious over there, it is really going to encourage these folks, these radicals throughout the region, to take over the civil wars, the sectarian wars that will encompass the whole region, and it will follow us back to this country. And this is, I think, an extraordinarily important debate. The resolution itself basically is just very simple in that it says that, number one, support the troops, but they don't support their mission.
Well, that's the worst case scenario if we leave. What's the best case scenario if we stay? What's the worst case scenario if we stay?
Well, it's not just about this surge of 20,000 more troops going in. There are all kinds of efforts going in as far as changing the policies, having oil sharing, revenue sharing for everybody in Iraq, to work with the diplomatic front. To really, this is a total effort. All they're talking about is this one area of the efforts that are going on right now, and holding the Iraqi government, Maliki, accountable. That is what is going to happen. If by this summer, if this has not been a positive result, I think everybody's going to reevaluate that maybe it is not doable. But the fact of the matter is that this is the thing that the general, the new Petraeus over there, the new general, sat before the Senate and talked about his plan as far as bringing stability to Baghdad, and was confirmed 81-0 in the Senate. And now they want to undercut the very efforts that he said that he was going to do and had total support.
This morning, Al-Qaeda, according to some of the news accounts, looking online here from the BBC, Al-Qaeda is threatening to attack oil sources all over the world and disrupt oil flow all over the world, not just in the Middle East,
right, in
order to get America's attention. And if we saw what happened to our economy and to our moods just a few months ago when oil hit $3 a gallon at the pumps, and serious oil disruptions all over the world, and Al-Qaeda doesn't take too many people to do that. It just takes well-motivated, well-funded, and the cooperation of our enemies in order to accomplish that. We're in a war, a big-time war. This is serious stuff.
Well, and I think it's very unfortunate that sometimes these debates can actually embolden our enemies to do those type of things. And, for politicians in Washington to comment on every tactic that's used in a war like this, I think is very unfortunate. And this really is the first step of cutting the legs off our people that are fighting so hard for us over in that part of the world.
I think that's already been done, sir, to be honest. When the CFR comes out, and says this is a lost cause, when the Eastern establishment, liberal, the people who are the government beneath the government says, hey, this is stupid, and we've made matters worse. When they say that, and they say it in public, we've already lost.
Well, I think they should talk to our allies in that region. Talk to the people in Jordan. Talk to the people in Egypt. Talk to Israel. What's going to happen throughout that whole region if, in fact, that these folks just want to cut tail and run? And it is the rhetoric, I think, is so unfortunate.
What would you define, sir, as what would you consider both the tactic and goal of success?
Well, first of all, you've got to stabilize Baghdad. Then you've got to hold the Maliki government accountable and have them take over the security for their own nation. There's no doubt about that. And a major part of the effort that's going on right now is to really ramp up even more than what we have as far as training the military, training the security forces in Iraq so that they can defend themselves.
Would you put a time limit on that?
I think by this summer we will know exactly whether they're competent, whether they're able to do that. And that, no firm deadline, no. But I think that the writing will be on the wall by then. And the first signs are very encouraging. These people are stepping up, that they're taking initiative themselves as far as their own defense and their own security. But it's going to be a difficult here, but that is what I think is the real benchmark, is to see how they react and how they step up themselves.
Thank you for your time this morning, Congressman.
You
Latham.
bet. Thank you, Jan.
You bet. The other side of the coin from another member of the Iowa delegation who spoke at length yesterday was our own Congressman Boswell. I will give you a brief précis of what he had to say. He says, Mr. Speaker, I rise in strong support of House Resolution 63, a resolution in support of our troops serving with distinction in Iraq and opposing the President's call for escalating troop levels. As a two-tour combat veteran of the Vietnam